My name is Jukka Uosukainen. I'm the director of the Climate Technology Center and Network. This is a body under the convention. So we are technical service for developing countries. We try to give technical advice and guidance to any of the questions coming from developing countries on feasibilities of technologies, or how they prioritize technologies, how they can use them, maybe how they can make a business case out of technology development and transfer. All of these questions are for us, and we have now serving 100 countries. We have already 40 completed technical assistance projects, and we are of course going on. This is important work. We are very concerned about that Paris Agreement is not yet been, let's say, implemented fully. The 2 Celsius degree target is not yet there. The IPCC reports are telling us that we have to double our efforts here. Africa is extremely important continent. First of all, they need capacity, and they haven't got that capacity even to formulate their plans. So how can they implement their national determined contributions and commitments if they have even struggling to find the right technologies and make the business proposals for the banks and funds. So there we need to help them in that capacity. Also, the population of Africa is exploding. That means that they are the ones who need most now the new technologies intake, and they should not be hooked in the old ones. And exactly, they have potential. There's young generation which are interested in working for climate, and also huge resources which are here. Both of course the sun. We know Africa is the continent of the sun, but also natural resources. So we have to match these needs of the countries to the potential which we have got.
Africa Climate Week happens for the first time? This conference?
No, this forum has been going on for some time. It was based on this clean development mechanism. Mm-hmm. So in a way, this is trying to put the markets together with the government efforts. I'm here for first time because this is not organized by us. We had our own meeting just before this conference. We convened 50 African national focal points of technology. And we discussed 2 days that how they would run technology need assessment processes and how they could approach us for other technical advice. So we had a very good meeting,
and in Africa there are a lot of billions perhaps without any energy services. So I mean it's a huge task.
Yeah, climate is not the first concern of African people.
Exactly.
It's the food, it's the water, and it's energy and electricity. Access to these is of course a precondition for everything what they can do. So we can't kind of come and demand Africans to contribute. They have not caused the climate problem. Although I have to say that the issue of deforestation, land degradation, it hits them because of the less food production and comes more poverty. But on the other hand, it's a huge climate impact what African continent is having exactly on land use. Yeah. So that is an important sector to work with.
So it's a huge task ahead to mitigate climate change and introduce a lot of people to energy services. All that means money, funds. Is that coming in? Does the West realize that it has to really put their shoulder behind this?
Yeah. Everybody says that there is a lot of money for climate. We just
the
problem is that African countries need to learn to make such a proposals where the funds can come in, both public funds and private funds. It's evident that even Green Climate Fund can't finance just grant. The grant financing is also not very sustainable. Every good climate action is almost a business case, and we have to find that business case, find out how much it can be self-financing, and then indeed international money has to come and support and add to it. So these cases are the ones which are successful.
Yeah. But I think here is an issue of de-risking the business cases in Africa,
yes.
which is a high risk, area, investment areas. So.
High risk area,
Higher risk area.
very high interest rates, which are working against, and also no incentives for the new markets. And there is one interesting technical assistance request to us is that can we change the markets of 10 Southern African countries for electric appliances? So fans, the refrigerations, the motors and so on. So can we change, create new markets for the best equipments, best appliances in the world, and not what they are now having the worst quality. And that is important, because then the business can start working if the prices of the commodities is reflecting the climate impact.
And since you talked about the appliances and obviously low consumption, high efficiency new appliances, Africa should also stop being the dump of second-hand appliances from all of us.
Yeah, you are right. We maybe have made a misservice to Africa by sending our old fridges and
cars and
appliances here, and then they pay high cost of the electricity. It's wrong. They have to get the best ones also. So that is interesting. One other interesting issue is that how to change the supply chain of charcoal. Because charcoal is actually one of their basic energy sources, and at the moment it causes a lot of deforestation. We have to look at the whole supply chain, and of course at the end of that is an improved cooking stoves. But that is only a one element of that. So we are working that with Tanzania. Maybe I would mention also what is interesting is a hazardous vulnerability mapping. Hazard, we call it hazard wheel. That means that on the coastline, African countries, they need to know what kind of vulnerabilities they have in each of the coast section, because then otherwise they can't protect their investments. There are issues of tourism, issue of buildings and livelihoods on the coastal zone, and now at the moment there is no mapping of that one. So we are bringing a mapping tools for that one, and that is also in 8 West African countries we are going to have that kind of.
So adaptation can work there.
Yes, exactly.
So you've been long with the UN and the other things. So how are you optimistic? Are we going to get there on time? Because there is an issue of time.
There is an issue of urgency.
Yeah.
I have negotiated 20 years climate convention for my government.
Yeah.
And indeed I have been occasionally pretty frustrated about the slowness of our international dialogue and commitments. But recently, especially after Paris, I have seen an increasing interest by African countries, by Asian countries and Latin American countries. They come to us now and they ask how to implement. They are serious with their national contributions, maybe even more serious than the Western countries. So that means that I have a kind of raising optimism that we can manage.
You're not afraid of the Trump factor, that change of?
No, I didn't see any kind of widening reaction or support on that one isolated.
Yeah.
Although big country, of course, very important, but it was isolated case, and I am just hopeful they will come back.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.